Hi, my name is Christopher Clark, Town Administrator for the Town of Harwich. Today's topics will be innovation and creative measures in town government. I have a few items that in my tenure here that we have been working on that are innovative and creative. Some of these items have already been underway and we are moving them towards completion, and other items are newer concepts that we are attempting to introduce. I have in total 5 items that I would like to talk about today very briefly, just to give the residents of the community a sense for what some of those initiatives are. The first item is Muddy Creek. Muddy Creek is going to have, currently it has a culvert, and we are converting the culvert into a bridge. What this will allow the town to do is to have fresh water that's in a marsh go into the ocean more effectively by going under a bridge, and that will create more of a saltwater marsh as opposed to a freshwater. This will allow for phosphorus levels to be reduced naturally and will help in the sewering of different areas in town by allowing nature to do what we would otherwise have to do through a treatment plant process. That project is about at the 25% design stage and is progressing fairly effectively. The next item is an item that in my tenure I don't believe I've had the opportunity, and that is when I came to the community I realized that the town has a full-time chef on staff. And one of the things that I wanted to approach was, okay, how do we use the chef and how can we better utilize the chef? So what we've undertaken with the assistance of the staff down at the community center, as well as my assistant, is to look at what the current service levels are for the chef and how can we improve those. And what we found was that the chef is doing good work for us and is feeding folks in certain settings, but we wanted to expand that service. What the approach was that we decided to take, and is now currently available, is that when you rent out a part of the facility at the community center, you can rent a room, and then if you're having a function, perhaps an educational function or a birthday party or other social type event, you can also rent and have available not only the room, but some limited catering services. She does do birthday cakes, things of that nature, breakfast foods, as well as lunches, and I believe we are doing dinners as well. We do have that information available on the website for folks that are interested in renting that. And one of the things that was of concern to administration and concern to the selectmen was that we do not want to compete with the private sector. So this catering service will only be available to folks that rent rooms in the community center, and it will be offered as a voluntary service. So if you rent a room and wish to bring your own caterer in, you're still more than welcome to do that. This is just an added offering that we wanted to make available to the residents of Harwich and surrounding towns. On surrounding towns, one of the things that I think attracts people to Harwich are we have a wide variety of beaches, and the recreation director, Eric Beebe, wanted to make an attempt to how do we better advertise and understand how do we advertise the value of some of those beaches. And the Recreation Commission, my assistant, and Eric came up with a concept of doing t-shirts that say Red River Beach, I think is the primary one that we're doing. I've actually been down to the site. It's a beautiful beach, and we do have probably, I don't want to say ample parking because I don't think there's such a thing as ample parking, but we do have, it's one of our larger parking lots, and we do have food vendors that are on the beach, and now you can actually go in and buy a t-shirt. So when you go back to your home community or you just want to walk around in certain areas and show people where you vacation, we'd love to have you have Red River Beach as one of those locations. In terms of other innovations, we have a Shellfish Lab that the town operates and has been operating for many years through our through our Natural Resources Officer. And what he does is he grows shellfish. I think he primarily focuses on quahogs and on, I think he does oysters as well. and he grows them from small shellfish into larger shellfish so that they're then able to be supported in their natural environment. So we have that process. It's called our Shellfish Lab. And what we're attempting to do is to work with outside groups that also are engaged in this activity that grow some of the organisms from microorganisms into smaller organisms that then can be put into nature. And we would work with a group to potentially lease out that property and have the renovation costs be covered by those lease payments. So this is a concept that we're looking at, and we are progressing to see how we would expand the building and have those costs, instead of being borne totally by the taxpayers of Harwich, to have them be borne by the leaseholders. And we would have a joint venture, so we would no longer have to pay for shellfish, but we would obtain that as part of the lease arrangement. This is still very much in the design stages, but I think it's a concept that anytime we can improve a service at little to no cost to the taxpayers, I think that we have an obligation to do that. And then the final innovation that I would like to speak about is that we also have several buildings in the community that, in my opinion, are somewhat underutilized. So we are in the process of taking an inventory of those buildings, doing an assessment of what the cost would be to bring those buildings up, and then to also anticipate and find what potential new uses could be used or expanded uses. One in particular that we have focused our attention on is the Albro House, which probably over my left shoulder you can see in the background of this shot. The Albro House is a historic home and presents some significant challenges. How do you convert a home into more of a business setting while maintaining the historic characteristics of it? So what we are looking at this point, and again, this is conceptual, that we will present to the Board of Selectmen once we get a little bit further along in the process, is the concept of doing building envelope rehabilitation, painting and maintaining the building on the outside, and that we would seek funding through the Community Preservation Commission funding source to do that work to preserve the building. And then on the interior of the building, we currently do and offer counseling through our youth commission and our youth director in the building. So what we're looking at is to try to make that a counseling center or a social services center. So we are looking at how to renovate that building, maintain the historic feel to the building, while also allowing for the opportunity to provide for social services that are needed in the community. I believe that this is a good mix and a good approach to take to it, and it's my hope that we can progress to a measure where the selectmen will believe that this is in the best interest of the community. It certainly is a challenge to take historic structures and to find ways to reutilize them in a more modern sense while maintaining the historic character. Well, hopefully today you've had an opportunity to find that, you know, we're not just government bureaucrats out to push paper, although my desk is covered with paper, but we also look to ways to improve how we offer services in the community for the benefit of the residents of Harwich. On a final note, as enjoyable as it is to try to come up with topics, I don't want to just listen to myself speak, and would rather have your suggestions and comments for what you think is maybe interesting or things that you thought government may or may not be doing for you. If you do have topics that you would like for me to cover, I'm more than happy to do so. If you would be so kind and just put those topics and send them to us in a email format at the description listed below, it would be greatly appreciated, and we will try to cover those topics on a month-to-month basis. Thank you.